We have the pleasure of talking to India under lockdown, from Israel under lockdown, talking to Swami Atmapriyananda of the Ramakrishna mission. Maybe, Swamiji, you can tell us one or two things about yourself so that whoever sees this has a sense of who he's listening to.
The Hindu monks are called Swamis. Swami meaning a person who has conquered. The person is supposed to have conquered his senses and should be a master of himself. So Ananda means joy. Every monk has his name ending in Ananda. I am called Atmapriyananda, a person who finds delight in himself, in his higher self. I happen to be the heading the Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda University, which is a unique multi-campus university in India with 4 campuses across the country and with the faculties which are rather uncommon, like disability management, special education, adapted physical education and yoga, School of Mathematical Sciences comprising departments of computer science, physics and mathematics, School of Indian Heritage, where we lay special emphasis on classical Sanskrit, teaching Sanskrit in the medium of Sanskrit itself, which is very rare in our country. And we have School of Agriculture and Rural Development. These are the areas which we focus on. But we are called monks of the Ramakrishna order. Ramakrishna was one of the extraordinary saints of the last century, 19th century. His chief disciple, Swami Vivekananda, founded this order at the command of his guru, Sri Ramakrishna. And we are Hindu sannyasins. Sannyasin meaning a person who has renounced his worldly ties. And Swami Vivekananda gave us a very simple motto. In Sanskrit, it's called Atmano Mokshartham Jagat Hitaya Cha, meaning for one's own individual emancipation from ignorance, as well as for all around welfare of the entire humanity, including all the environment, the entire world. This is the motto. So that's what I am, and I'm very happy to be interacting with whoever interacting with.
Thank you. Well, we've had a multi-year friendship, and only the two of us. Well, actually, we've made a video once on our friendship and how close we feel to each other, and that's why I'm so grateful to be with you. So, Swamiji, you've been under lockdown in India. Tell us about how you're experiencing the corona situation, how it's impacting you personally, how it's impacting you institutionally. What challenges is it placing before you?
Not that it is absolutely unexpected. We have been hearing about for a couple of months now. But the way it has affected the world and the community is very sudden. And the lockdown is a general policy adopted by almost all the governments of the various countries in order to have what they call the social distancing. So, very interesting coinage of this word. We should have emotional bonding. We should have love in our hearts, but we should have a clean distance between our physical entities. This is a very strange phenomenon because in Hinduism we believe, and we have realized in our scriptures and our texts, that the human personality consists of several layers. We call it a 5-layered personality. In Sanskrit, it is called Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, translated respectively into English as the physical, the pranic or the vital, the mental, the spiritual, and the last is the bliss or the aesthetic dimension of oneself. So you distance yourself physically so that you can grow more deeply spiritually. This seems to be a good lesson for us to learn, which means that the more we distance ourselves physically, perhaps we become very close mentally and spiritually. Not that we need to, we have been conditioned into thinking that we hug and shake hands, and that is an expression of our love for one another. The corona, the virus, has taught us that there's a deeper kind of affection and love which is possible without physical contact and with as less of physical contact as possible. In that sense, the corona has perhaps given us a lesson in going deeper into oneself emotionally and spiritually by distancing ourselves apparently, outwardly, socially. That's a good lesson which we are learning now. And
yeah. So I think that's a great lesson. Probably the whole corona is, we're going to emerge from this interview with the recognition that this entire corona situation is a series of lessons. So let's delve. Is there anything else you want to say about the challenges that you face right now as a consequence of the corona, in addition to this wonderful lesson?
People everywhere seem to be saying, I was seeing in the media and the television and the internet and everywhere seeing there could be problems of loneliness. People feel alone. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have too much of this internet connections and WhatsApp messages and video calls so that we virtually interact with each other. Now, is it really necessary that we need to connect with everybody else in order to feel happiness? This is related to a very philosophically profound question, which is also at the same time socially relevant and practically important, which is the following. Why is it that one feels lonely? Let's summarize this simple question. I feel lonely because I don't have anybody's company. But I realize when I am alone that I am in my own company, and a feeling of desolation and unhappiness in loneliness would mean that I am not happy with my own company. If I am not happy with my own company, why should anybody else be happy in my company? Which means, in order that I be loved, in order that I be happy in others' company and others happy in my company, I need to develop a kind of aloneness which is beyond loneliness. This phrase I borrow from a great thinker, J. Krishnamurti, who I heard as a student for year after year. He used to speak about aloneness which is beyond loneliness. There's a kind of aloneness which we develop, which we need to practice, which goes beyond loneliness. In that aloneness, you embrace the entire world of humanity as well as the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom, the entire environment, one deep, loving embrace of aloneness in which you feel you are the world and the world is you. It may look very philosophical, but it is a truth which we need to realize. If I need to be loved by everybody, which everybody craves for, I need to develop a deep self-love for my higher self, not the selfish love of myself. I need to realize that I am happy with myself in my own love because I am the whole world of living and non-living beings outside me. This has been the lesson of all the religions. And in Hinduism, this has been developed to such an extent as to be called a special kind of realization, which is called Atma Rama. Atma means oneself. Arama means delighting. So many words are used. Atma Rama, delighting in oneself. Atma Krida, sporting in oneself. Atma Rata, feeling so happy with oneself. And Atmapriyananda, a person who loves himself and delights in his own higher self, realizing that one's own higher self is the self of the whole universe. So this is the lesson in Atma Rama, which has been spoken about in the Hindu scriptures, which the coronavirus is forcing us now to realize. It's an opportunity for all of us to realize this idea of Atma Rama.
Well, but not all of us are called Atmapriyananda. So what you got the name, so you got instant illumination, no problem. But the rest of us who don't have that name, what is their path to Atmarama? How does one practice learning to be with oneself?
Learning to be with oneself means that you connect to your higher self. You realize there is a dimension of yourself which transcends the body and the senses. It is not even the emotional self. It is not even the intellectual self. So you can't be reading all the time, you can't be studying, and you can't be researching all the time. But you turn inward and raise your mind to a level of consciousness in which there is a dimension of bliss which is within you, which connects you to everybody. I'll give you a very simple example of everybody. That's the example of deep sleep. I used to wonder from childhood, I used to ask very silly philosophical questions to myself. Why is it everybody wants to sleep off? I'm so tired, I want to rest for some time, I want to sleep. What happens in sleep? In sleep, I cut myself away from myself, the lower self, my body, my mind, my thoughts, my books, and from everybody else, and I lapse into something which I do not really know, but that which gives me bliss. What happens? I move away from the world of duality, manyness, into oneness, which is homogeneous, undivided, and in which everything is subsumed. So in that state of awareness, I have a bliss. So can you simulate that kind of experience while being awake? So this kind of challenge, if you take it that way, is what this coronavirus has thrown to us. Can you just be with yourself, raise yourself to a different level of consciousness in which you are not asleep, but you are feeling the vibrations of the entire universe in yourself, and you are sending out waves of love, waves of wisdom, waves of harmony to the entire world of beings, of creation and animate, inanimate beings, the kingdom, the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, and you feel that you are the whole expansive reality. That kind of expansion which you can feel with yourself when you are just alone is an opportunity which the coronavirus has thrown us. So this threat can be converted into a challenge to realize the higher dimension of one's own self. This is not theory. This has been realized by people, practiced, documented over millennia by hundreds of thousands of people in the East and the West. Think of the desert fathers in Philokalia, for example. Think of the contemplatives in all the religions. The contemplative people feel so much of joy within themselves, but they are the most selfless people on earth who will weep at the sorrows of everybody. What kind of consciousness did they possess? So these are questions which we are asking now because we have nothing else to ask.
But it sounds to me like your teaching is for the elect few, those who really have given their life to the vocation that you have, the sannyasis, the monks, the desert fathers, ordinary people who hear this message and who don't have the practice of meditation. Can you offer a simple practice or a simple recommendation for them to implement it? Otherwise, it sounds too abstract and theoretical.
This is exactly where I differ from everybody. Many people have told me, oh, Swami, this is too theoretical, this is abstract, the stratosphere, come to the practical. So I always remember Swami Vivekananda's statement in Harvard Philosophical Club in an interview. Swami Vivekananda asked a question, what is your Vedantic idea of civilization? Vedanta, as you know, is a philosophy of Hinduism. Swami Vivekananda made a very profound statement there. He said that civilization is the greatest, where the highest truths have been made most practical. We always wish away These high truths saying that they're too high and meant for very few, little knowing these are the simplest truths which can be practiced by everybody at any time because it pertains to yourself. Why is it that we want to run away from ourselves to be able to connect with everybody as a kind of escape? Look, deeply think about this. Most of us want to connect with everybody, not because we want to be helpful to somebody, but because we feel happy in some other's company. We want to connect with everybody so that we want to escape from our own dreadful, sorrowful life. Can you just face this sorrow which is within you boldly? This is not theoretical. This requires a lot of courage. We talk about courage. We talk about adventurism in the West. We go rock climbing. We say the adrenaline should now come out, and then you feel the full flow of adrenaline. You jump from the mountains, you go into the deep sea. Why not have a kind of inner adventure in which you face your own self squarely with all its troubles and trials and tribulations and sorrows and tears? You face them and see how you can really connect with the whole world inwardly. It may appear very theoretical and very impractical because we have not been able to practice it. The easiest is to have our own company, which we have been rejecting for too long in this world of so-called internet.
So a simple exercise to do this, if it's very practical, give me, if you can, a 10-15-minute exercise for the viewer who encounters this idea for the first time. How does he or she implement this?
So you have nothing else to do except be with yourself. You can't go shopping, you can't go outing, you can't go socializing. Just sit quiet by yourself. If necessary, if possible, close your eyes and see what is happening within you. We have been too much accustomed to seeing what is happening outside us. We have no time to find out what is happening within us. I'll give a very, very simple example of everyday experience. Does any one of us know how the body is operating? When we eat our food, we are so busy rushing and talking and socializing. Have you ever found out how the food is getting digested? What extraordinary mechanism is in place to digest our food? What extraordinary mechanism is in place for us to talk? I am talking to so many people, the viewers who should be listening to me. Think of what it takes to talk. Some ideas in my brain stored several decades ago, perhaps, when I was studying, when I was a boy, those ideas come to me, and those ideas carried through the brain nerves come to my to my speech system, and the tongue moves in a peculiar way within the mouth, and it is in a very, very difficult situation. The teeth are extraordinarily hard, and the tongue is so smooth, so pliable, and the tongue is not afraid of the teeth, and the sounds come out, and the sound carries itself through the air, reaches your ears, and the tympanum of the eardrum vibrates. It is carried to your brain nerves, and you interpret. So there's a very complex mechanism which is in place, which we take for granted. So the simplest way is to look at yourself and see what complex mechanism is in place. You call it God if you believe in one. You call it nature. You call it anything. Such extraordinary phenomena are taking place in my body, in my mind, in my lungs, in my heart, and the physiological system and the psychological system. It is so extraordinary that I didn't have time to even look at it. Unless the heart gave me trouble, I never worried about the heart. The heart is pumping 24/7, 365 days in a year, since the time I was born in my mother's womb to the time when I'm going to the funeral pyre at the burial ground. my heart is pumping. So why don't you look at your heart? Oh heart, thanks for all that you're doing to me. Why don't you look at your own body and say thanks to every part of your body, the digestive system, the alimentary canal, the respiratory system, and the memory which stores in me. So every inch of my body, the divine body which God has given me, which my parents have given me and nurtured me, is such an extraordinary phenomenon. Then you take the mind, then you take the spirit, if you believe in one. So look at yourself and see how you are functioning. And look at the book of biology. You read by a book on biology, it tells you that you have a DNA inside the body, inside all the cells. And the book says, there's a small book by the Reader's Digest called The Human Body. It's for the layman. It says every DNA has 100,000 coded messages. And if all these messages are decoded, and if a typist sits down and types all of them, it will occupy 100,000 volume encyclopedia. This entire hall in which I'm sitting and talking to you will not be sufficient to describe the glory of half a dozen DNA, and you have billions and trillions of such cells sitting in this multiple cell system, such a glorious multi-cell mechanism which God has given us, saying that I am small, I am weak, I feel depressed, I feel extremely unhappy. When will this unpleasant situation ease out? Why don't you look at your body and see how the body is resisting? Look at the immune system. All the viruses around, my immune system is fighting them. So thank the soldiers within you. The immune system is constantly fighting these forces against you, and how much of time and energy they are spending. Encourage them, come on, fight it out. So this is the way you can look at yourself, your body, your mind, and look at everybody else and say, take courage, you have a wonderful system, and God has given you the brains also to find out a vaccine.
Great, great. Now this is really a meditation on the body. Well, in some way, this particular exercise can help us to get through anything, but I'd like to talk about some specific things and draw on your wisdom for dealing with them. People are afraid. The uncertainty, death, fear, panic, lockdown, there's a lot to be afraid about. Is there a specific remedy that you can offer for the various fears that we're encountering during this situation?
I personally feel interacting too much with people is a source of greater fear than being with yourself. So because I have been with myself since childhood, I know my body, I know my mind, I know my senses, I know my feelings. There's nothing to be afraid about. Why should I be afraid of myself?
Not so afraid, but we're afraid the coronavirus brings us uncertitude about tomorrow, about our life, about becoming infected, about dear ones suffering, about loss of finances. There's so much insecurity in the world. People have fear. So being with yourself won't alleviate that fear, will it?
Of course it will, because the whole world is full of uncertainties. Suddenly the uncertainty, insecurities come to the fore in such a profound way that we are discovering the uncertainty, we are discovering the insecurity. We have been insecure, our whole life is insecure, but in and through that insecurity, there's a deep feeling in each one of us that we are secure. If you believe in religion, if you believe in God, if you believe in somebody who is a great protector, then you are blessed. So if you can develop that faith in you, that there is a cosmic being who is protecting you, and in spite of all the fears that you have, there is somebody, you call it a person, you call it an impersonal entity, you call it by any name you like in all religions, there is some cosmic entity who has brought you into being, and therefore he shall protect you. That infinite being is also the protector of the coronavirus. Who brought in the coronavirus? The same great God, the Hindu scriptures say, the Mahamaya, the great mother of the universe, she brings in the viruses, the Mahamari. The great epidemic is called Mahamari. The Mahamari is also the Mahamaya.
What does Mahamari mean?
Mahamari, the epidemic. The end of the epidemic and the pandemic. That's also the creation of the mother of the universe, and the small little fellow which you can't see is creating such a panic, and everybody is now shaking. So how that little virus who you can't see can create such tremendous fear? That means there is a huge power in the whole universe which is activating this virus so that it gives you panic. So this is an occasion in which you surrender this great power with faith, with humility, and you say, I can't anymore depend on my stupid little brain. I have to resort to something higher. Oh God, give me the power to be able to overcome this crisis, and believe that we shall be protected, because we have been protected millennia upon millennia by whoever you call him God, you call it any force. And therefore, humanity is under the protective wings of the great power of the universe. We call God, we call the Creator. And the same Creator is unleashed, perhaps, this coronavirus to teach us a lesson that we need to be more humble and to surrender, rather than hating one another and creating situations of war. You mean to say the corona is worse than the world wars? Who created the world war? Not corona, not viruses, but human beings, hateful human beings, despising human beings with so much of ill will in their heart. They created this crisis. The corona is telling you, you created so much of unrest and disharmony in this world. I am now going to show you how you can surrender to me. You surrender to me, I shall ultimately protect you. So I personally fully believe, and I also practice it, that go down on your knees and cry, oh God, protect me, protect this whole universe from calamity, and we shall promise that we will behave. Love one another, help one another, cooperate with one another. We will not create a situation where greed will take charge of us, and we shall not exploit nature.
So,
Nature is enough. But nature, Mahatma Gandhi said, nature has enough for man's need, but not enough for man's greed. We have been exploiting nature, and the nemesis of nature is upon us, as the Greek philosophers would say, and this nemesis shall give us a lesson in humility, inwardness, and faith in the supreme reality who we call God.
so I hear you saying, before you taught us about meditation, now you're telling us about prayer. So in order to cope with the present moment, we need not only meditation, but also prayer.
Of course, prayer in a personal God, or prayer in infinite power of the universe, and coupled with that, the realization that our little intellect is not sufficient to understand the vastness of this universe and the complexity of the situations. We have been depending too much of our little stupid intellect, and we thought we can conquer anything through our science and technology and the various innovations which we are capable of. This little fellow has thrown us a challenge and has told us, don't depend on your little intellect alone. There is a vast, infinite power of the universe. Depend on that power to save you. Go down on your knees with tears in your eyes, pray to the Supreme Being for the well-being of the whole universe. This has been taught to us in Hinduism since childhood. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma dukkha sukhamag bhaved. That all beings be happy, that all beings be joyful, that all beings be free from disease of the body and the mind, that all beings think well, wish well, and be harmonious, and let there be no shadow of sorrow in the earth to all the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the environment, and human beings. So this prayer constantly connects you to the whole universe. And you feel connected through a wave of love, and you realize that there is something more to the world than your little intellectual achievement. You can't achieve anything in life through a little intellect. Pray to the cosmic being to give you wisdom which is higher than mere knowledge. Unless a man grows in wisdom as much as in knowledge, Bertrand Russell said, mere increase of knowledge will only result in increase of sorrow. We are increasing knowledge, but our wisdom is coming down. Wisdom in the sense that we are interconnected. We have to depend on one another, and we shall not create situations in which hatred is the formula. The formula is love, connectedness, harmony. These are not, I repeat, theoretical. These are the most practical. When we were children, we were so innocent, so loving. Down the line of so-called education has completely taken it away from us. Increase of knowledge. So knowledge should mature into wisdom, and wisdom should issue out in action for the good of humanity. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. This is a phrase constantly used in the Hindu scriptures. Sarva bhuta, to all beings. Hite rataha, the person who is engaged in constantly doing welfare to the society, thinking about welfare, acting for welfare, and constantly engaged in action and thought which is for the welfare of the entire humanity.
Let me go back a step to what could be very challenging. Are you suggesting that coronavirus is a punishment? Are you suggesting that it's a reaction because of our selfishness, or abuse of nature, or wars, or any of the reasons you mentioned? Is this why we got it? Or are you saying this is an occasion for us to learn better lessons? What is the sense of causality that you attribute to corona?
My own take on this question is that there is no causal connection in the universe at all. Don't ask the question why in anything, because there is no answer to the question why as long as you're in the relative universe. Why this happened, there could be 100 reasons why this happened. You may say that you have been punished. Somebody will say you have been too selfish. Somebody will say this is necessary. I am not saying anything this kind. You just take it as an event which has happened in the cosmic scheme. This is an event which has happened, and don't ask why, because there is no causal connection to anything in this universe. In fact, this is the lesson which quantum theory and the latest development in physics have taught us. And even the common sense point of view, you can't really say why for anything. Then why do you ask why? You ask why because if you know the cause, you should be able to remove the detriments to our progress, and so that we can improve. Why does a doctor ask, what is the cause of this disease? So that he can find a remedy. Asking why, where there is no quest for a remedy, is a futile exercise. So why need not be asked, need not be answered, and you need not even say there's a causal connection between this coronavirus happening and people being pushed into themselves. This is an event which has happened in the cosmic scale. This has happened several times before in the history of the universe, in the history of all the worlds. This is an event which has happened, and this is something which will give us lessons to learn. And this is a lesson which we learn to be inward, to be satisfied with our own selves, to be able to meditate on our body and mind, and to go down on our knees and pray to the infinite being, wherever he is, whoever he is, to know there's a huge infinite omniscience before whom our little intellects are not even babies.
So you're saying something somewhat paradoxical. You're saying that there's no causality, and yet it happened in order to teach us all this.
I'm not saying it. All they're saying is we can take lessons. Okay. Not that it has come to teach you. It has come and you can learn. And our learning is not connected to nature teaching us. Nature teaches us every moment. Every moment of our life, nature is teaching us. Nature has not come down to teach us this lesson, but we can learn our lessons if we can, if we care, or we can keep crying and we can keep blaming one another.
So let's see. We've addressed the notion of fear. You've taught us about how we're all interconnected when we discover the self. You've taught us how to. Have we spoken about the sense of loss? The fact that people feel like they're losing? I think we wanted to cover that. We didn't cover that. There's so much loss going on. People feel like they're deprived of freedom and mobility and money and life. I think Hinduism has a lot to say about deprivation and loss. Can you share some wisdom with us on this particular point?
So here, one has to realize what is freedom and what is bondage. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the textbooks of the Hinduism, and the hardcore textbook, eternal values are given there. It says you need to have a special kind of wisdom to be able to understand what is bondage and what is freedom. Now, I am confined to my room. I can't go out. I can't socialize. I can't go shopping. I can't go and watch movies outside. I can't talk to people. I am confined. Therefore, I feel I am bound. Am I really bound? I have infinite freedom to grow within. I have plenty of freedom to think. I have enough and more freedom to meditate and discover truths which I could perhaps not have discovered otherwise. And therefore, what is bondage and what is freedom has to be once again revisited and rediscovered. Do you want a bondage of the senses or bondage from the senses? What is the loss that we are talking about? You have lost some money, you have lost some property. That's what anyway we are losing when we die. We do not know when we are going to die. It's not philosophical. Anytime death is there, anytime disease is there, even if it were not for this virus. So loss every moment is knocking at our door. And therefore, the loss is actually the imaginary loss of something which is going to happen just when it's happening. Of course, we need material goods. We need that people should be able to eat and clothe well and live a happy life. But this is something which has come to us, and we have no other option except to face it. Do you face it with fear? Do you face it with gloomy minds? Do you face it with glum faces? Or do you face it with cheer? Not that you welcome it, but you face it because you have no other choice. So can you convert this great challenge as an opportunity and realize that the loss and insecurity that you are feeling would anyway be there in spite of yourself because of old age, because of death, because of anything else. Now this has come in a mass scale, and therefore we fear and feel that this is terrible. In smaller scales, how many families have been devastated because of illnesses? How many families have been completely demolished because of deadly cancer? The only earning member of the family has died of cancer. Children are suffering, they can't be educated in small pockets and groups which we never knew. Now it is coming in a mass scale, in a huge scale, and therefore there's kind of highlighting of this loss of sense of security. So the loss and sense of security is there on the one hand. On the other hand, when you have no other choice except to face it courageously and boldly and with faith in God, and feeling that we need to learn, not because this virus has come to teach us, because at every moment, nature is teaching us. Life is teaching us, but we didn't take those lessons. Now this virus has given an occasion to contemplate, go inside, and to learn and think and realize certain truths which we perhaps did not realize earlier. All that I'm appealing, is not to get too much panicky or gloomy about this whole affair, but just this shall also pass. This is where the Buddhistic wisdom and the Hindu wisdom come to our rescue. In the world of relativity, nothing is permanent. Everything passes. This shall also pass. And don't say better days will be ahead. Which are the better days? We don't know. We had better days a couple of years ago, a couple of months ago. What did we do? Kill each other? Hate each other? That was what we were, that's the game we were playing. Intentionally, nations were playing, people were playing. Were we better off? People were hating one another, killing one another in the name of wars. That's what we did. Second World War, First World War, even later. It's always a threat. Every nation is under a threat. Every nation is afraid of every other nation. Although we shake handshakes and hug each other, there's a deep-rooted uncertainty, fear, hatred for everybody. If that can be removed through a process of cleansing, which is introspection, contemplation, and take a vow that we shall not anymore engage in the game of mutual hatred. That is not very difficult. Why do we do this? Why do we hate one another? Why do we not love one another? We think it is a necessity to be able to protect our own nation, my country, my family. So if I am safe, everything is okay for me. So this is a lesson which we should learn. Everybody can be happy only when everybody else can be happy. This is the interconnectedness and interdependence which we are learning in a big way. This is called enlightened selfishness. There's a story of a farmer who used to use very expensive seeds in his own farm and distribute these seeds to every other farm in the neighborhood. Somebody told him, "You're a fool, you're stupid. Why do you give these expensive seeds free of cost to everybody else? Don't be too unselfish." He smiled and said, "Because I'm selfish." Why? If I used expensive seeds in my farm and the people around me use bad seeds, the chances are the birds would pick out those seeds and put it in my farm and take away my seeds and put them there. So it is necessary that the people around me also use expensive good seeds so that my farm is protected. In order that I be happy, my country be happy, my society be happy, everybody else around me should be equally happy, joyful, and full of peace. The peace of the entire universe is necessary so that I can be peaceful. I can't be peaceful in an island. This is a lesson which has repeatedly been told to us by scriptures, by our great men, by our holy men, but we didn't listen. So sometimes some bad experiences also give us some lessons to learn, because now we find time to sit quiet and introspect. Einstein said beautifully, he is my hero as a physicist, "My religion consists of humble adoration of an illimitable intelligence which our dull faculties can comprehend only in the most primitive form. Our understanding of nature is so little. Our understanding of the virus, we do not know what is the nature of this virus even now. We do not know what is the nature of this attack. Why this kind of infection? Why this kind of mass spread of this virus attack is going on? We do not really know. And therefore, it should make us more humble. And this cosmic intelligence which is governing this entire universe is something which shall protect us and protect us for the better. And there is no cause for panic or gloom. We shall face it cheerfully, happily, and using our intelligence to find out a vaccine and taking all the protective measures. In the name of religion, don't think just because you chant some hymns and sing some songs, all the virus will go away. That has to be tackled at that level. The physical laws will control the physical level. The biological laws will regulate the biological level, and the spiritual laws will regulate the spiritual level. And since man, a human being, is a combination of the body, the physical, the mind, the mental, the prana, which is biological, and the spiritual, we need all the laws for the welfare of the entire humanity.
Swamiji, would you like to conclude with some prayer for this particular global situation?
Yeah. Om Yo Shanti Antarikshagum Shanti Prithvi Shanti Apa Shanti Oshadhaya Shanti Vishve Deva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarvam Shanti, Shantireva Shanti, Sama Shantiredhi. May there be peace in the heavens, peace on the earth, peace in the interstellar regions, peace in the environment, peace in the oceans and the water bodies and the rivers, peace in the plants and the animal kingdom, peace in everybody's heart, peace everywhere, and that peace overwhelm me and the whole world. Om, peace, peace, peace. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhave. That all the beings be happy and joyful, that all the beings be free from disease of the body and the mind, that all the beings think well, imagine well, and will well. Let there be no disharmony and dissension on this earth. Om, peace, peace, peace.